Assassination Classroom Season 2, Episode 22. We got Speared and Shielded, when really they should have Shielded and Speared. Who would have thought we would be working this hard to go to school? This is opposite. This is backwards world. Literally every other student in the world would just be celebrating. Wow. Yeah, this does feel like we're starting the climax, right? This is going into the final stretch. I don't think I took the levity for granted or the humor or the lightheartedness too much. I definitely should have appreciated it more. 3 hours. That's not fair. That's so unfair because last time it was like 53 days or 30 days or something. They didn't stick to the schedule they promised. 22nd period. Happy birthday time. Is it Coruscant's birthday? Or maybe rebirth? Yeah, it is a shame. It's a real shame. For a totally different reason. So they're officially on board. It's a distraction. This is deliberate. Or not. This is just their operation. Wow, we actually get to go up against humans, trained humans, in our fully realized forms. This is nowhere near as hard as the group civil war we had. Okay. Is it a dart gun? Imagine they were still winning with BBs. This girl continues to get done dirty by the writing. You broke his spine. Pretty easy. Oh yeah, of course, you gotta torture them. Alright, it is bait. It's both. I calculate the odds of you torturing at 1000%. They're making this look so easy, and it's incredible. Right, that's true. Yeah, we're going back to school. They know every inch of it. They might stop for a swim on their way. Yeah, I mean, how could you not be if you know them, know where they come from? I also get confused sometimes. Good luck trying to learn all their names. Sure, whatever. Traps and porn. Sometimes porn traps. This net gets a lot of use in this show. You got a lot of mileage out of it. I don't like that you're facing us. Okay. Yeah, they have to have some aces, right? This guy also not evil, right? In his mind, he's fighting to save the world. It's hard to even rationalize or justify. It's hard to explain. That's not really convincing. The world is gonna blow up, kids. I mean, I'm on their side, but that exists resoundingly at a symbolic level and then tentatively on a literal level. Because, I mean, you can't take this lightly. To take full responsibility for it, this isn't blame. It's just like, what could we do better? I think they were a little bit too quick to write off that 1% thing as a success. I think it came out of something positive. I think they were just so relieved and overjoyed with the fact that there was a chance for Koro-sensei. They didn't consider the full implications of what that was, and more importantly, what it wasn't. So I am totally on board on all levels with their desire to see Koro-sensei again. Just imagine him all alone in a dark classroom looking at his photos. The stunt clap makes another appearance, speaking of mileage. Cool to see them working together. And also we've learned nothing could stop an axe kick. It's the ultimate combination. Who's the real monster? What's the real threat to humanity? Is it Koro-sensei? Consider this graduation, maybe. Well, some people are out of the loop here. What's your angle? Okay, this is an angle. What about we use a giant mirror? Don't talk like that. Not with that attitude. Well, this is where he might reveal that he sort of is okay with this.
もう発射は止められないでしょ
The laser may come eventually.
う。これだけの怪物を世界各国が恐れないはずはありません。どの道息の根を止めてしまいたいと思うのが妥当でしょうね。
Yeah, but I don't think that's the end of the assessment.
もっと早く手を打てば方法があったかもしれないのに。
This hurts, yeah. I think maybe this
発
is
生
what's
装置
coming
の
up
防
now.
備もまた鉄壁です。先生からの投石などにも備え、対空兵器まで配備してある。
Maybe this is it. Maybe this is actually what it is. I've been a little bit confused about this particular element of it. Because to me, it felt like there was such a clear narrative payoff here where Goro-sensei thought the only answer was for the students to kill him. So the rising above, the outperforming, the exceeding expectations and forming something for themselves from the students was then flipping that on its head and deciding to save him. But then when that came up, he sort of just shrugged it off. Like, oh, that's nice. That's cute. So I thought maybe he was already expecting it, and then maybe one reading of it was that he's just sort of unaffected by all of it because that golden North Star of I just love to see the kids doing what they're doing. Whatever outcome is fine as long as the kids can develop into their potentials, no matter what form that takes. But increasingly it seems like actually there is still an opportunity for that. And it's not even necessarily the logistics of saving him or not saving him or them coming up with that idea or not, but more like some deeper existential thing for Koro-sensei. I mean, actually, the way he's talking right now almost seems patently un-Koro-sensei. It's kind of unaspiring, unimaginative, non-ambitious, something that he may not be willing to accept from the students. Now, there is a valid element to it of like, he doesn't want their lives to be affected, and there would be a lot of danger for them in trying to make this campaign or approach things in this way. But I think bottom line is there are ways, and part of their journey has been accepting their own agency and choice. So I think at this point, given everything they know and all they're capable of, they have the right to decide if those are things they want to do. Now, it's tough with only 3 hours left. It's kind of a late game thing to add on here. But yeah, I think this doesn't have to be the end of the attempt. Or maybe I'm in denial. One of the things I love about the show is that why not us attitude, you know? Why not? Why couldn't we do it? So what if it hasn't been done before? So what if it seems impossible and we don't know a way yet? That means we just haven't discovered it.
君たちの今の能力と装備では途中で捕まってしまったでしょう。それほどまでにこの計画は完璧でした。
So were our plans to kill you. We've had a lot of perfect plans in this show.
努力の結晶の暗殺が先生の能力を上回ったことに敬意を感じ。
We really did bring this out of the whole world, yeah, not just the kids, in a certain sense.
じゃあ私たちが頑張ってきたことは無駄だったの？
No, even if this is the
無駄な
end,
ことなどあるものですか？
it's not a
柳田
waste.
さん
Right, yeah.
君たちは先生の爆発の確率
That
が
is a
1%
real
以下
thing
であ
that
ると。
happened, yep, casually in one episode.
その過程が心が大事なのです。
Yeah, I mean, there it is, putting it into words.
先生としてこれ以上の幸福はありません。
Maybe we can try. Maybe we can try for a greater happiness.
そんなリスク俺らは余裕で飲めるっつってんだ。なんで政府も世間も一番近くで過ごした俺らの意見を聞こうとしねえんだ。このタゴエロいくらいで何の危険もねえの
Fair,
よ。
I guess.
侮辱に等しいわ。
Good, get angry, but also stay recent.
君たちはこの先の人生で強大な社会の流れに邪魔をされて
Yes,
望んだ結果が出せないことが必ずあります。そ
absolutely.
の時、社会に対して原因を求めてはいけません。
Good advice.
社会を否定してはいけません。
Even though that's really tempting.
やり過ごした後で考えるんです。社会の激流が自分を翻弄するならば、その中で自分はどうやって泳いでいる
This is really amazing. This is an idea near and dear to my heart. Undoubtedly, you will hit obstacles and you will hit unfairness and you will even hit evil. But I think it's so important not to misattribute it or overattribute it, to become bitter or cynical, which is not to say there aren't things worth getting upset about or worth fighting back on. I just think the targeting is really important. What goes wrong sometimes is, you know, there's a specific incidence of something not happening and it's infuriating and frustrating and painful. So those emotions sort of lead to rationalization. And it's very easy to imagine the people doing this as evil and terrible, which is possible, right? It's always possible. There is some genuine malevolent desire at play there. And if that's the case, that's something to really focus on. But a lot of the time, what it actually is just like people aren't really thinking about it that deeply. They're succumbing to other very natural pressures that maybe are not great, but like are not the same thing as evil. And that's even assuming you get the target right and don't over apply it. So if it just becomes like society is terrible, people are so evil, well then that now extends into the way you think about and therefore probably treat other things you interact with and what you expect from the world. And so therefore how you're primed to engage. Society doesn't hate you. Society just is society in its very complex mess of individual cells moving around. Right now, I'm navigating the potential deletion of my YouTube channel and like 5 years of work doing this and 7 years of this channel total. And, you know, of course, my initial instinct was like anger and frustration and just picturing some evil people clicking buttons. We're going to ruin this dude's life. But like, that's probably not what it is. I doubt they even watched any of the videos they hit with copyright strikes. It's probably just some person in an office or some person in an office developers who made a bot that just goes through the content ID system because some manager told him or her to do that. And on a surface level, it seems legitimate. And we're told that copyright infringement is a big offense and that this is the best way to stop copyright infringement. And they're not really that invested in it, but they just are doing their job. They want to have a paycheck so they can live their life, maybe take care of their family. They don't know me. They don't hate me. They can't really conceive of me as a real person. They have no idea how much the channel means to me. They didn't build it. They didn't make it. I mean, they maybe could if they really tried and focused on it and tried to imagine someone sitting there pouring their heart and soul into videos for 7 years only to have it deleted. But then again, we all could in so many different ways into infinity in our lives, and we just can't and don't, right? Like, can I imagine every single person who's suffering right now in its full intensity of suffering and little things I interact with that I'm not aware of interacting with that deeply affect someone's life towards the negative, and I just have no idea. And I could understand it if I really meditated on it, but can I do that for everyone throughout the world and every issue? This is maybe a little bit more local because it's the person's job, let's say, but the same thing still applies. It's not that deep, right? And simultaneously, this is the company that brought me Full Metal Alchemist, which is so profound to my life. So can I even hate the company? I don't know. Can I hate the legal department? Who do I hate here? And also, like, why? What does me hating them do? Way more importantly is the practical element of it. Like, how do I ethically fight to the best of my ability to keep my channel up? And almost separately, channel or no channel, how do I do the best I can in my own life? And I think with something like that as a focus, as opposed to I need this to go this particular way, then I'll just roll with the punches, and at least I still have something to work with. I still have myself. I have that vision. Nothing has been taken away from me, at least on that level. Like I said in the post I made about it, you can't delete love was by TLDR, but no one can delete the experiences I've had and the things I've learned and the ethos I've developed and the taste I've gotten for like, wow, it feels really good to do things that people appreciate and say they enjoy. That's a win to have experienced and to have felt. And the conversations I've had and all the stuff that anybody cares to remember, that's something that won't be deleted. And so we just keep it moving. Now, I think this can be maybe misinterpreted and critiqued. And I think this is a very important subtle distinction for the idea of like, just ignore the things you don't like. But I don't think that's it. I think it's more like trying to maximize what you actually can control while also focusing on higher things than the individual circumstances, but your ethos. So like, if you have this burning ethos that is good and pure and wants the best and aspires to be in service or whatever it is, well then like in following that, that naturally takes you into a certain direction where you actually see you can do something here, right? Like I can influence this. I have a little bit of a voice here. In that case, maybe actually it's a great idea to follow it and get involved. But I think it's an important question of like, is that really what it is? Is that where you have the most agency and locus of influence and control in the situation? Or is it just like you and your spirit and other actions you could take and ways you can navigate? What it certainly isn't is like just stewing there in your hatred and letting that hatred influence other things in your life. I think this can apply very directly to politics, right? Like I think Jesus said, was it Jesus? Leave Caesar to Caesar. And personally, I used to have that interpretation of it, right? Like government doesn't matter. I don't know what is actually meant by that statement or how people interpret it, but the way I would read it now is it's not that politics are not important. It's more like you're not following politics as a goal. You're following something much higher than politics as a goal. And that may take you to politics, in which case politics is still that thing. And so it's good. But if it's not that thing and that thing lies elsewhere for you, you don't want to get stuck in politics and lose power to something that is way out of your control and influence, when instead you could have been following something much more genuine and important for you, ways in which you could have been much more useful and generous and benevolent. I think there's a little bit of a trap sometimes in things outside of our control, and the cynical part of me wonders if this isn't deliberate on two fronts. One is that people who want to amass power, or people who want to amass attention, want us to move away from things we can control because that reduces our agency and increases their power. And on the other side of that, we sort of like that exchange because having less agency means having less responsibility. And so there's a little bit of a convenient out in placing all of your autonomy in your whole life in something you know to be out of your control, even if this is at a subconscious level. It's no accident that thrown in here is the idea of like your heart and your development. We all sort of start out by focusing on the external, but at some point that has to come back in and sort of be reflected on and reevaluated, and just start with the building block of what you are and what you can do and the strengths you have, and you build out one rung at a time from there until you get to those external things, and then you are much more equipped to interface with those things. Whereas if you start there, how much does the average person who is like vehemently engaging in political back and forth really understand the political system, like truly deeply? But like what you have a much better chance of understanding at first is yourself and how you work and what makes you feel like a strong, good, robust person, what it feels like to develop skills and to have discipline and to work hard and to care about things. You and your friends and your family and your occupation. I was going to say you having a stable environment, but I can understand that there's a circumstantial element of that, so that sounds a little bit hollow. So maybe it's something a little bit more holistic, like building the skills and having the faith in yourself so that as circumstances change, you're able to navigate and get the things you most need in order order to function and maybe even thrive. That maybe takes some of the power back is a much more applicable, actionable plan. Leaves you at least less at the whim of just random happenstance. Because it's never going to be zero, right? You're always going to be interacting with the world to some degree. But it's like, how much of that percentage can you get back in your own hands? And so it's a shame to like willingly get pulled in or drawn in through rage or fear or whatever to things that are just not about you at all, that may not even have the benevolent underpinnings that they appear to have at first glance.
この E 組でこの暗殺教室で
The water's going to be
いつも
the
正面
water.
から立ち向かわなくていい
How are you going to swim in it?
常識外れの武器を使ってもいい
The kiss.
焦らず腐らず試行錯誤を繰り返せばいつか必ず素晴らしい結果がついてきます
This really encapsulates a lot of it, which makes it all the more sad how beautiful this is.
こんな時まで授業かよ
We're never done learning or teaching.
こんな時だからこそできる授業です
I mean, the timing is
教
perfect.
師たるもの教育のチャンスは逃しませんよ
Exactly. It's a never-ending process.
ずっと涙をこらえていたほど嬉しかった
Yeah, I'm glad. I've been waiting for that kind
本
of.
当ですよ
But still, we can save you.
そんなに落ち着いてられるんだよコロ
Well,
先
he chose something
生こ
else.
の E 組に
It
来
was
な
a
か
big
ったら
choice.
普通にどこかで生きられたかもしれないのに
Once you see it, I don't think you can unsee it.
僕らはコロ先生の
Oh, we already were his assassins.
月が爆発した日から今日でちょうど1年でしょ確か雪村先生は今日コ
Right,
ロ
it
先
is his
生の
birthday.
誕生日にしたんだよねこれを崩さずに
That is amazing, actually. Aww. This might be his first.
くせえ仕込みしやがって
What a dark underpinning to this. Happy birthday and death day, maybe.
なんと身に余る報酬を得たことだろう
Don't eviscerate the cake, please. Gently. What just happened? Is it? Oh, it's not you, is it? You just ruined
Happy
everything. You ruined everything. Everything about you is terrible.
世界一残酷な死をプレゼントしよ
What the hell is that?
僕が誰だかわかるよね
No, and I'm okay with that.
う。彼がそのタコから死神の名を奪った男だ。
I thought we already.
そして
Oh, did he get engineered?
今日からは彼が新しいコロ先生だ。
No. I did a great job with this, though. It's creepy as hell. But also, no. Do it again. Make the sound again. It was hella creepy. Yeah! Take two! It's creepier this time.
さよなら先生
Yeah, he
見え
is,
てなかったよね
or was his student. We see
僕の
something
顔
different now. He just wanted to be seen.
弟子入りを志願してきた彼を拾って育て
Volunteered, my god.
力に憧れる男だった
Oh,
だ
right.
から望み通りの力
Oh,
を
wait.
授けてきた
Oh, I just put that together. He volunteered right then and there. And of course, since he killed his father.
裏切る要素はなかったはずだ
Maybe this was the beginning. I have this idea that, like, the teaching instinct, some desire was creeping out from Koro Sensei's soul even before he met the girl.
潜入の手数を整え
This
ま
might
す
have made the first crack.
変更はしない計画通りここでナビを頼んだよ
That's another thing I've definitely felt. I know this is true because I've had this happen to me. So I like to believe it's happening in the other direction as well. I used to think that in issues that mattered to me, it was very important that I convince the other person that I was right because I think that thing's important, right? So I want the other person to agree with me, assuming there isn't a whole bunch of other stuff in there like, you know, just ego and insecurity, which there certainly was as well. So in discussion, there's this desire to just go for the kill right then and there, right? You have to come to my side right now. You fight it out and you cross all sorts of lines because it's so important you convince this person. But I think this actually is not the optimal strategy and maybe a harmful strategy because a lot of these ideas, they just take time and it's a slow drip. You have to be introduced to it first and you're probably going to reject it first if it's something important but different from what you currently believe because if there's any significance or importance in it at all, it means it's going to hit on some emotions, right? And you currently have this worldview and that worldview is going to feel like a life or death thing. So to introduce a contrary one, almost no one is going to go quietly unless it's just so absolutely unbelievably convincing. Unless they're already a little bit primed for it, which is kind of the point. The process has to start somewhere. And I think the goal of discussion, or where this sort of exchange really shines, is more just like introduction to the idea or stating the idea again for consideration. And thinking about it that way, the best way you could possibly do that is with care and regard for the other person. If that's your actual goal, right? If your goal actually is goodness and talking about things that matter, well, it works on so many levels because treating the other person with respect is just a good tactic because they're going to be more receptive to what you have to say. They're going to be less encumbered and blocked from the ideas by the anger that comes up. And it's just a better thing to do anyway, just in itself. Your treatment of someone else is sort of a different thing from the underlying issue of importance. So I think these things would get a lot farther farther if we could remove the feeling of trying to dominate or win or like convince and just see it as an opportunity of expression in a non-combative way. I think if that were to be adopted, what you'd find is a lot more often people would hear the idea, reject the idea, and then go about their lives thinking what they think. And then one day they'll hear it again and they'll be, oh, I heard this already, and they'll reject it, you know, and so on and so forth through possibly 100 iterations of it, or fewer, just depending on what happens in the person. And then one day they're like, you know, maybe there's something to that. And what's funny is they might even think it's their own idea, but like, whatever, right? You don't need attribution. This may feel a little bit off topic, but it is interesting to see that this may have been that exact crack, you know, it may have been that first thing that fed into that moment of choice.
先生、殺傷力の高いナイフ術を考えたんです。二刀の時のバリエーションなんですが。
Notice me, senpai, literally.
通用しないね。仕事のリスクを増やしたくないなら、まず教えたスキルを極めようか。
This is very on theme for the episode.
私は何も分かっていなかった。
多分
It was a different
見てほしかっただけ
value
なん
priority.
ですよ。あなたに。
He was judging things based on the way he saw the world.
見ていなかったんだ。
He was thinking about power and success and conquest.
これで実践データとターゲットの死体を回収できるのでは。一体
We
いれ
can
ば
have both.
対テロ戦争も型がつく。
But who are the real terrorists?
実用化したいというのが我が国の本音だろうな。
I'm sure that Koro Sensei's death means the end of all war and military programs and experimenting.
僕らを襲った二代目死神。
Just another one to save.
不出来な糸な妹とはわけが違う。想像できるだろうか。
Can you imagine you were almost my brother-in-law?
その破壊力を。
Maybe we could spin this for positive PR. Koro Sensei saves the world, or I guess school, but sort of the world, from a worse creature.
二代目の超人的な動体視力と直感力は職種によって増幅され、
Is he also allergic to BBs?
素人の子供と違ってあっという間に職種に慣れた。そこにいる初代がそうであったよ。
Okay. Admittedly, this is concerning.
要するに彼はメンテナンスの必要がない使い捨てだ。寿命は3ヶ月もない代わりに
He willingly took
凄まじい
this?
エネルギーを引き出すように調整できた。
And we're killing this thing in the laser blast too, right?
仕組みだ。
Oh, really?
そうやっていつも
It's a pretty good weapon,
人
yeah.
ばかり傷つけて自分は安全なところから。
そう思うかね。
I mean, he's not safe. Put that away. Oh, okay. Well, it's getting the game.
そう思うのかね。
Damn, he just did that basically on a dare to prove a point.
命などもうどうでもいい。
So now there's two of them? I guess one for Koro Sensei, one for the students.
人間の機能を保ったまま超人になれる。
What human faculties? The human faculties, are they in the room with us?
愛する生徒に一生の傷が残るように。
That's just petty. This guy's a jerk. I never liked him.
いかに巧みに正面戦闘を避けてきた殺し屋でも人生の中では必ず数度全力を尽くして戦わなければならない時がある。
Good. I actually think this is an important addition to what he said before. I think the possible danger in misinterpreting what Koro Sensei said is that he's encouraging avoidance, whereas I think it's actually the opposite of avoidance. It's about confronting the most important things, and that those things are probably in you. There will be times when you do meet up against circumstance that is really important and directly related to you that you have to overcome, even if it's formidable. And that will probably come down largely to preparation in advance, so it's still stemming from that developing yourself central framework, but nevertheless, it's not avoidance.
先生の場合それは今です。
Let's see what he can do. He looks excited, actually. I mean, as someone who loves power, or has always loved power and has moved on from it, maybe there's something great and fun about being able to return to it, but like with this new conviction and power behind him of all the great things he's found in his life. I mean, he's fighting partly in defense of them, right? This is like a great use of his power. I mean, in the flashback, he's like, what good is my power if I can't protect the people I care about? Well, here you go. This is what it's for. It was never that the power was bad. It was never that weakness is good. It's always been the question of what is it in service to? Just like how the grades were important and their tests were important. But it's not because grades and tests are the most important thing in life. It's because by engaging with them, you can hone your spirit and your abilities and use that to strive for the highest thing you can see. It ends up being a really great episode, even in what is a very action-packed scenario that sets up the final climax. Even though I'm sad we're getting close to the end, I'm loving this crystallization of the themes, and I'm really looking forward to this dude being gone.